Hey, Ghost Machine fans, this one's for you.
Welcome to the Ghost Machine Fans Podcast, episode 74. You can only trust family, right? Well, apparently that's not true if you have an evil, time-hopping sister/aunt. Or if you happen to be the son of an angel or daughter of a demon, bequeathed to earthbound parents of opposite alignments. In these family odysseys, the twists are perilous and the turns are unexpected. I'm Snoggle, and I'm joined as usual by my partner in crime, Nick. Nick, how are you tonight?
I'm fantastic. I'm excited to be back into the universe of the family Odysseys. You know, we haven't seen these characters appear directly outside of maybe in the background of the Halloween preview issues, which made me wonder if we're gonna see like little background crisscrossing there. But the subject matter of the two is obviously quite different. So I could see us not seeing too much of a crossover there anytime soon. But I'm really glad that we get to spend an entire episode totally focusing on the family Odysseys, which is appropriate because one of them came out a week ago and another one came out today.
It's a family time of year.
It's a family time of year. Just this close to the weather cooling down and the leaves starting to turn. And that's what we need that. We're in desperate, dire need of that.
I see pumpkin patches in our future.
Yeah, I've been at multiple Targets and Walmarts recently, and they all have Halloween decorations for sale already. And we just clicked the calendar over to September. You know, I guess that makes it time. That's fair. So before we get to it, we do need to, as usual, shout out someone that is awesome, that is a big supporter of Ghost Machines for some very obvious reasons and has been a supporter of ours on social media. And that is Comics on Coffee. If you go take a look at Comics on Coffee on many different platforms, especially Instagram, you'll see a lot of cool photos of them posting at different conventions where they have booths with great frequency. And they have some really cool stuff. They have like a blood orange type of deal with Hyde Street on it. So they do these themed coffee deals, you know what I mean? Where they have that kind of thing going on. And there's a Ghost Machine one, and there's a Hyde Street one, and I think those are the only two that I've seen for Ghost Machine specifically. But there's Lord of the Rings coffee, and they got a funny picture on their thing with John Rice Davies. They got a great picture with John Barenthal. But it looks like it's the Ghost Roast is their main Ghost Machine coffee joint, and then they have this other one that's blood orange dark coffee that's Hyde Street coffee.
That feels appropriate.
So if you want to make sure that you're getting your caffeine and focused while you read these fantastic comic books, then make sure to check out Comics on Coffee. Buy some coffee from them. Make the coffee, drink the coffee, come back and talk about the comics with us.
The Ghost Roast makes you focus the most when you're reading your Ghost Machine comics.
Oh my goodness.
I think it's pretty good.
Pretty good. Well, I know what else is pretty darn good, and that is that it is time for the news, which means I better get the heck out of here.
So today is Wednesday, September 3rd, which happens to be the release date for the Rocketfellers number 8. Also, final order cutoff, September 8th, is the Rocketfellers number 9, which looks to be the shocking conclusion to Raina's downfall and the highly anticipated Rook Exodus number 7. So it's a good month for Ghost Machine.
There's so much stuff coming out. So it's the end of the current arc where we've been learning more and more about Darth Raina and how she became a Sith Lord. And what we're also saying is that Rook Exodus number 7, highly anticipated. We've seen an awesome preview for that. We know there's going to be some big action with the Stag Warden. People are really into that. And we know it's going to happen in the winter biome. And everybody's super excited about that. That should be possibly a difficult one to find. So make sure that you get yourself a copy of that. There's a really cool 1-for-20 ratio variant of that. I would definitely pre-order that if you want to make sure to get yourself a copy.
Nice.
So we're going to talk about 2 comics today. One of these comics came out a week ago, and the one came out today. Then the first one we're going to talk about is the one that came out today. And to kick that off, we need to run down the 3 fantastic covers that will be available to you if you're one of the few people that didn't pre-order it and you're stopping by your local comic book shop today to pick it up. So, Becky, can you please give us an understanding of your impression of the Rocketfellers number 8A, the first one? It's like Roland tinkering in his basement with lots of lights around him type of deal.
Yeah, this was Francis Manapul cover, and he looks really worried. I feel like his expression is pretty captivating. Like you can actually see the emotions, and I like the use of color where there's just these pops of pink.
And there was an emphasis too in the story about how he's got the machines around him supporting him, and like, you know, Grandpa makes some comments about that, and that is echoed here in this cover because they're kind of all around him. He's isolated, he's alone, but he has his machines, which is interesting because of what we're learning that he's creating with the Borganic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The B cover for Rocketfellers number 8 is one of my current favorite artists. That's Kyle Hotz and Dan Brown. Kyle Hotz does lots of cool, detailed, dark, creepy stuff. And I've really enjoyed everything that he's done so far. This one gives you an awesome view of Raina in the foreground. And presumably, I don't think it's been definitively confirmed, but I guarantee you we're going to know in the issue that is yet to come out that behind Raina is Jacob, who is her husband in that, you know, goofy, purpley, skinless type of thing that he is, the status that he is in.
I think this looks so cool. It is just wild to me.
And really cool colors from the usual colorist that works with Kyle Hotz, which is Dan Brown. And the third one, I don't think that I have seen this artist do many other covers. I don't think I've seen him do any other Ghost Machine covers. It's Christian Alamy and Brian Reber. What kind of vibe did you get from this, like, send the drones forth to conquer cover?
Do you know what vibes it was giving me? Eggman from Sonic.
Oh.
But like cooler, more scary version.
I was like, I am the walrus. What are you what are you talking about? Well, that's funny. Yeah, because you thinking because of all the drones, right?
Yeah. Because his machines were like his babies.
That's true. He did have an emotional connection to his machines, and she is we have found out that her affliction or whatever is as a result of the technology that slowly makes you into a robot. And we'll talk about that on that panel. Those are the 3 covers that we've got available to us if we are going to go out, grab this comic book from our local comic book shop and read it so that you're all caught up and it's time to deep dive with us. Which makes this your official spoiler pause for the Rocketfellers number 8.
8, ain't it great?
So before we begin, because we did talk about a whole lot of different cover artists just then, can you give us a creator roll call on this one? Because it's another one of those where certain pages are done by certain people.
Yes, of course. We've got Story and Words is Peter Tomasi. Art from pages 1 through 17 is done by Sia and colorist John Calise. And then pages 18 through 20, the story and the art is done by Francis Maniple. And then our king of letters throughout the whole issue was Mr. Rob Lee himself.
Rob Lee letters not only multiple titles, but multiple universes, multiple time frames. It's incredible. The man's everywhere.
How does he write like he's running out of time?
So this is the same lineup that we had at the last issue with Sayak joining the team for a while. Mm-hmm. And it's reminiscent of what we see in Geiger too, where when there's a guest artist, then Gary will still do like an epilogue type of deal. And so this one starts in a different time frame too. And I think time travel is not a everybody loves it no matter what catch-all. But for me, it's like if you put time travel in it, I'm more entertained. Like I'm more willing to give whatever the story is more time to digest and like absorb and give it a chance if there's time travel involved. So we do start this off in a time that we haven't seen referenced yet. It's in ancient Rome.
Yeah, which I agree with you on the time travel aspect because we're dealing with people of the future. So when you put them in a situation in ancient Rome where you're surrounded by lions and you're really going to die, like, I don't even know how I would react. I would probably die. I wouldn't be able to run.
Well, what you're talking about is that a slave appears to be he broke his anklet, which was keeping him combating lions in the Colosseum. He runs away. He's being pursued by Roman guards, and then he's snagged by a female in that garb, and who pulls him into like a cubby.
Which I think is awesome, especially when you see her come back with him to the future. Back to the future. The color on this page, I mean, it's wonderful.
Well, and it's really quick because she basically grabs him, the guy that's running, that is being pursued. She pulls him into the dark. She says hush, and then we get a quick V quintuple ZM from Rob Lee, and then they're gone. And so it's like whatever she does, she can grab somebody and zap them out. Just zap them out real quick. So that's interesting to know that she can do that they're that capable technologically. But then what you're saying is they go back to the future because the year is 2425. But then Peter points out that it's the future, but it's the Rocketfellers past because we're still getting origin stuff here. We're still getting stuff from prior to when they went on the run.
And they're at the Time Zone Command Center. So we get more insight into Roland's siblings in this issue. So starting with Reggie.
Yeah, for sure. And this is also the woman who he met and then fell in love with and is getting married to as well. Mm-hmm. This kind of ties to the story in his bio that indicates that this is when they were still courting. Or maybe even just before that. Like it could be before they got together, but they had met. And the dialogue that they're having with a slave that they zapped out of the Roman Empire, they're telling him that they have to do a couple of routine things, confirm his identity, all that kind of stuff. And then he points out, like, he thought he was going to be there a lot longer. Why am I here already? And it's because somebody dropped the charges, essentially, in the case that he was going to testify as a witness. And he was so valuable that they hid him in ancient Rome. It's interesting to me because he was so close, despite the fact that he was profoundly valuable and needed for a trial in the future. He was this close to getting eaten by a lion.
Yeah.
He hadn't been there in that moment.
Yeah. It seems a little irresponsible for an agency.
Yeah. I get it. Like nobody could find him and they were dealing with very different people, but you'd think they would set him up with like a manor or something of that nature to be protected instead of in that situation. But either way, because the case was dropped, you can tell they very quickly are like, get on out of here. You'll get paid what you were promised on your contract. But that's it.
I do think it's interesting that, like, while Reggie and Liz are talking to the kids, we find out some of the technology, which, like, they can literally fabricate anything from the past. So that's how she can actually acclimate into that time period. I wonder what they fabricated for where they sent the Rocketfellers.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't have to fabricate much, but it would be like the clothing of the future would be different enough.
Maybe some of the generic items that they have in their home and things of that nature. And they do use this opportunity when they're reflecting on the past to show us that Richie had a girlfriend named Allison. And we've known about the girlfriend because it's been like a point of contention for him and why he wants to get back to the future because he misses her. But then this conversation between Reggie, Richie, Allison, and Liz allows us to understand that they sound like they kind of have the thing in Star Trek that lets you make anything, and then they go from there. But then they're even going to say, like, I'll even show you the pods that we use to transport people into the past. And it's for a little foreboding because he says, I know how much you love engineering, Richie. And that's particularly apt considering what is revealed that he's keeping in his closet at the end of the issue. So what'd you think of the simulator mission that Rachel's on?
Well, one, at first, like, I like the storytelling aspect that at first it doesn't seem like it's a simulator.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think at the end of it, there's a lot of emotion here where even, this is before they had to go hide in time. She's already at this point where she might be leaving her family for not just a little bit, but years.
And so it seems as though they go through the simulation, which is them landing on the other planet or the moon of another planet or whatever, Titan, because Titan is a moon of Jupiter, I believe. So they go there and she ruminates on the fact after we realize that it's a simulation that she's had 2 other missions that she hasn't gotten the chance to do. But ultimately they're concluding, like, she's saying, like, oh, I don't know if I should do this. But then the other people on the mission are like, yeah, you should, because you're going to, even though you'll be away from them and you'll lose some time, you'll be able to share something incredible with them. And so this seems like, even though we've had it pointed out to us before that she missed 2 chances to go do the thing that she's been dreaming to do, this implies that there was another shot. And so my assumption is that whatever forces them with the organic and Reyna and all the things to go back to the 21st century, it's also the thing that dashes that 3rd shot.
Yeah, which I think is, again, it's great storytelling. So when we see her in the future, where they hid them in time, and she's just well balanced and kind, like, there's some emotion there. She has to be pretty sad that whatever happened stole some of those opportunities from her. But
right.
She handles it so well and with such grace. Like, it really makes you like that character.
Oh, for sure. She's awesome. And then we get to see Rodney and Rose.
Wow.
And then we get to see Roland and Rose, I think for the first time where we've seen like a intimate conversation moment with just the 2 of them in the whole series, right?
Where it's them being like in a relationship versus just, we didn't really get to see any of that. It was just grandma is not here.
Yeah, it was them running and she threw him the necklace or whatever. There was obviously they loved each other and stuff, and the way he talks about her, but they're climbing and running up a big old tree, and he's got that cybernetic leg, and she's pointing out, it's cool because it emphasizes the dynamics of their relationship. She's pointing out the problems with it. He's like, no, whatever. And then he's trying to tell her that she shouldn't feel selfish for wanting to spend more time with her grandchildren because of what she's going to be doing for them is selfless.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool because it's the dynamics between the 2. You see the, like, is calling her, she's calling him a big baby.
Oh, I love that panel, by the way, because they're climbing a tree, which is a pretty large tree, and it's pretty ridiculous that they'd be able to do that. They're still in nature, right? And then they zoom off in a hover car. And the art just there is really cool. The zoom.
It definitely seems like in this particular time that's being reflected on that the world is still quite green and healthy, which is interesting because we know that that is not always the case. But she literally is telling him to go see Rodney to have him take a look at the leg because he would be the right person for that.
Yeah, and I love how it goes straight to what Rodney's doing right now.
Working on the Borganic thing. The nanoborg's propulsion systems are astonishing, converting pressure from blood flow into kinetic energy. The Borganics are successfully restoring the cellular breakdown. So it's like a regenerative tissue type of technology that, because he's got a piece of hair in there, and at least that's what it looked like. It could be like muscly sinew, but either way, the nanotech like covers it, and then it shows the percentage that it's doing that. And he admits it's aggressive in nature and goes beyond repairing the cells. It's integrating and replacing the healthy cells too. I've run through all variables to avoid such a hostile takeover, but I'm afraid. So he knows that the thing
is not good.
Yeah, no, it's like it won't just like heal you and then you're good. He knows it will turn you into like the badness, or that it has ill effects potentially. So he goes to see him, and he's like doing this experimenting deal with the Borganics, which is a great way for us to learn more about it. Like that's a smart detail. You can't just be glossing through these panels and read that and be like, oh yeah, I guess he said something about how it'll hurt your healthy cells too. No, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And the coverage percentage is showing how it takes over. Like, yeah, I mean, we are getting a lot of info now.
Yeah, where we still don't know exactly what is going to happen that will be disastrous, but they're like the breadcrumbs are being led to it's about to go down.
But we do get it revealed as they talk because he's got the purple thing with the technology in it. It's just sitting right by them as he's analyzing his which seems really just easy and routine. He's just kind of basically like taking a look at it. And they're really talking about the Borganic project. And he says that project's in the home stretch, but it's running into the same wall. And we know that the wall is that it's invasive or whatever, like what we just learned. And he does point out that Jacob and Kronex are depending on him. How could I possibly let them down? So there's still elements of this where here's what I envision the conversation being in issue 9. Roland Rockefeller is going to be like, hey, Jacob, I have this tech. It'll do these amazing things, but here's what it'll do to people. And Jacob will be like, whatever, don't worry about it. And he'll be like, but we can't. And then Jacob will be like, but we can. I'll even prove it to you. I'll use it on myself. And then that's how he ends up like the pink guy.
Well, what I was thinking is it might be that he has already tested on himself. And that is why it's so important for him to figure it out and why Jacob's depending on him so much, because he's like, I'm a fool. It's starting to take over my system. And maybe it was like he just tested a little. And so, I mean, who knows? It could be the very evil way you described as well. Because it doesn't seem like they were always evil. You know what I mean? Like, why would Raina go and steal from a different company? Like, yeah, they already have a lot of money. I'm assuming we might find out it's a little bit more personal. Like it really is to kind of save the person she loves.
Yes. And we do learn a little bit more about their relationship, that when he was young, he didn't want to follow the same path Raina did. And he felt like that disappointed his dad, but his dad's like, well, you stood up for what you believed in, and that was awesome. You know, I'm proud of that, but, you know, and that's good. you do get one of those senses like they're super different people. He has a line that he tells his dad, "I always lived in my head. I felt more comfortable that way, or it felt right." And I totally get that, and I feel like that distinction helps paint the picture of their relationship even more, because based on that, it seems as though Grandpa would be more inclined to admire someone like Rachel. And that is interesting to me because it's more realistic of a familial relationship, because all families, my son doesn't like everything I do, and I don't like everything that my son likes, no matter how similar we are. And that's a good illustration of that, because this is a family book, and that's why they should have entire panels where they're just talking about normal stuff and getting to know their family.
And then after we've gone through this kind of father-son dynamic, we get the next panel is Rose. It's the little old lady from Pasadena, which I find so endearing that in this year she's still listening to the Beach Boys. And she's on her way to visit, is it Jacob? Yes, so weird.
Raina and Jacob, presumably.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was super weird in that regard. What I thought was interesting was that it's very brightly lit. Like, where she's going is a positive and warm and loving place. And that's also where her granddaughter is, Ray, and she's been hanging out with Jacob, and he's got, makeup or markers on his face that the stickers and stuff like that. So the vibe that you get from all of it is like, oh man, things were good at one point. Maybe these people aren't bad. Like, what happened to these people? Let's just find out what the story was.
I know. And that I think is like such great storytelling, because in prior books that we've read, those two are basically the villains trying to find the Rocketfellers. But now they're family, like watching their kids and everything.
Yeah, and they're making masks. That's the thing. Like, it's very like, like Raina's got a mask that she made, like paper mache or whatever, with Ray, and she's got it on, and like Grandma is like, they're beautiful and colorful masks, and it's very foreshadowy and painful, but awesome at the same time.
Yeah, even the panel where Rose says to Raina, "You should see your face, so relaxed, so joyous." And Raina says, "Almost forgot about the paint under the mask." I don't know. It's just like, wow. So much emotion in one panel.
And it's like, I almost forgot about the human under the cyborg.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it takes us down this path with those types of moments of warmth and goodness. And you're like, oh, well, they must be just victims of circumstance. And then Peter does a really good job of jarring you out of that and reminding you, like, no, these people aren't super good. Because there's this big explosion outside, and it's an automated weapon system taking out an unregistered drone in their private airspace.
Yeah, not good. Not good.
And he really downplays it when Grandma is like, whoa, why is this happening? And he's like, it's a precaution. And more often than not, they're just media drones. And the point is that there's danger and it's being ignored. And then we see a panel where Raina has her glowy arm, and it's danger that is being ignored.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked that. And then the way it wraps up, though, back to the warmth, is Ray has drawn a picture of Jacob, Raina, and her.
And so together. Cute. Yeah, it's just, I'm intrigued on where this is going, because then we're back to their present that's in the past, where they're hiding. And he's once again is he in the garage or basement talking to Rachel?
Isn't it just crazy that daughter, Raina, later will watch her mother drown in freezing water.
Yeah.
Intentionally. It's like, we got, what's going to happen in the next issue is going to blow my mind. Yes. But we get another great family moment in that garage that you're talking about. And this is where we get Francis back. So he's got Roland over top of the machine, and there's cords all over, and there's future stuff, and there's modern stuff, and there's weights in there, and he's a busy guy, and he's doing all it. I just like the way that Francis is able to say so much with the positioning of the characters, but this is back in the current time period, and this is Rachel and Rodney talking about what got them there and what's going to happen next. And he's basically saying they got to jump again to a different time frame.
He seems pretty upset about it too, because he, goes on a rant of like, I know she's my sister, but look at what she just did to my mom. Like, I haven't spoken to my brother. He's a scientist. He goes by non-emotional things to figure out what's going to happen next. And then he ends it with saying, this isn't how I imagined our life would be, Rachel. That's just sad. Like, he's kind of apologizing to her without directly apologizing.
And the response she gives us very specific insight. She says, you mean inventing something that not only could help us live forever, but eventually turn us into mindless robots while your half-organic sister chases us through time as we raise our 2 kids wasn't your master plan? And that's funny and heartfelt and relationship driven, but it also emphasizes what the tech does and what happens.
And also, while she's saying that, she's giving him a hug. She's saying stuff that is true and is like, yes, this is ridiculous. I can't believe you didn't imagine that would be our life. Like, I was an astronaut, for gosh sakes. Like, I was about to go to Titan. Like, and now I'm hiding, and it's awesome. And the kids are listening too to the conversation.
Right. And that's when they're obviously frustrated. Ray takes it well because she just tells the birds we're going to go someplace new. And Richie is super mad. And that's when we find out he has a machine. I don't know if it's a time machine or if it's like a suit that he can put on or what. But he's got this something that's in his closet. And he goes to check it out. And the last thing that we see is Ray talking to the birds saying Richie's also really good at breaking things too, which means that something is going to go down with that piece of technology.
It's not good.
It's not.
Little kids acting up, and it's going to cost them.
It's not. And then we do see a preview of the cover for number 9, which is Raina crawling towards her eye, which is in someone else's hand who has a wedding ring on. So it looks like she lost her eye and it's in Jacob's hand and she's crawling towards it.
Which is pretty creepy.
And they had a fun little bio about the brother, about Reggie. And basically find out that he's kind of like the family peacemaker, and he is worked for the time zone protection program and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So that's a Rocketfellers number 8 that came out today. Man, I want to know what happens to Raina. They got me. They got their hooks in me on this one, Snoggle.
Yeah, agreed. But we need it soon.
But this is a double dose of the Family Odysseys this week, because just last week, Hornsby and Halo number 9 came out. So it's time for us to deep dive into that. And if you haven't picked it up from your store yet, we're going to briefly run down the covers for that one too. You got them queued up and ready, Snoggle?
I do. One of these I'm particularly excited to talk about. I do like them all. Our A cover is the usual suspects, Peter Snaberg and John Cleese. And it is Zach and Rose in the Mirrored Funhouse. It's good art. Shows lots of different sides of these characters.
Yeah, and you can see Beazle and Domino in the mirrors in the background too, right? And so this is another issue where Peter Snaberg, our usual penciler, is just he's only doing a cover. So this is another Ghost Machine issue where the primary isn't on it. We're going to talk about that with our creator roll call here in a minute. But the B cover is by newcomer Ramon Box and veteran colorist Brian Reber, who I am familiar with. He's great. Brian Reber's the man. And it's this like Sistine Chapel homage, you know, like where, I don't know, it's like God touching Adam or whatever, the finger thing. Isn't that what this is?
It's dope. That's good. It's very simple, very good.
And the last one, same colorist, different artist, Jesus Marino, another newcomer. So welcome Ramon and welcome Jesus. And Brian Reber, I think these are his first two Ghost Machine covers too. So welcome, Brian. Brian was kind enough to collaborate with us on a reel that we did to promote this episode. So thanks again for that as well, Brian.
That's awesome. This cover is dope.
The third one?
It's oh yeah. It's the Queen of Clubs, and I think his side of the card is the King of Hearts.
Yep. It's like a playing card variant showing one of them on one side, the other on the other.
I like it a lot. Good cover. Sometimes less is more. Get your idea out there and make it look just crisp.
That means that we need to take a moment and make this your official spoiler pods for Hornsby and Halo number 9. All right, we're here. We're going to dive back into Family Odyssey of the Night number 2. Snoggle, can you give us another creator roll call, please? We have a newcomer on this one.
The creators are Peter Tomasi and Peter Snaberg. Story and words on this one is Peter Tomasi. Artist is Ramon Box. And our color artist is John Cleese. And our king of letters, of course.
Rob is still there, whether it's time traveling or infernal quests. And this is also the artist that was the artist on the B cover we just talked about, Ramon Box. So that's pretty neat. John Cleese stays on as our colorist, even though it looked like Brian Reber did the colors for the cover that Ramon did. And I really do also like how John is referred to as a color artist, not just a colorist. And it kicks right off with a totally new character for the series, which is neat because it's new art style, which I dig. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Paul Pelletier, the guy that subbed in for some Geiger issues. And right off the bat, we meet this dude, Brick.
Yeah, he looks like a brick. His chin is like, there's a full brick under that chin.
He's got that chiseled chin because he's like a TV action C-level movie star or something, right?
Yeah, well, it's their monster hunters, which I kind of love that. I do love the added aspect of like now people are like, there's something funky happening in that town over there.
Oh, absolutely. That makes sense that somebody from a monster hunting TV show would have shown up in this town. And yeah,
there's 2 of them.
There are, because they're competing for the next story in the ad dollars or whatever she says here in a few pages.
Yeah, Mallory.
Yep, because their van says Brick Button, Monster Hunter. And then you've got Mallory who drives by in her red van that says UFOs, they're already here. And so
yeah,
it's the type of, it's a quick and easy way of showing, in a smart way, showing that people are showing up to this town because of all the supernatural phenomenon going on.
Nothing like a car chase involving people who are like, I gotta get the first sight of the monster.
Yeah, I would love to know the nature of the Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark conversation that happens in the truck, that happens in the van as they're driving away, because the cameraman starts referencing Belloc and Major Taught, the Nazi in the movie. And it's a very Peter Tomasi moment where I feel like Peter must have had this conversation with a friend of his and decided to put it in a comic book.
Yeah, I think so.
Because he compares Mallory to Belloc, who in that movie is always showing up to take whatever Indy accomplished. Like, he's the guy that shows up right as Indy gets it and just takes it. But they're at the Warwick Valley Summer Festival, which is like the big festival for the town.
And as usual, Rose is getting donations with her parents for the community center, doing like nice things, trying to,
raise money. And they're succeeding. Everybody that walks by says, we really appreciate what you do. There's also somebody who donates like a really nice suit, says he can't fit into it. So it's representative of the relationship that their family genuinely has with the community and how she is a part of that. But Zach, as you can imagine, there's each of the organizations has a tent at the fair. So there's a Halo funeral home tent with a bunch of brochures where it looks like his mom is talking to an elderly lady about making her arrangements. And he is the opposite of her in the sense that he's saying random slogans as he talks about their funeral home, like one about a chicken restaurant, one about a pilot school or something like that. And it's the storyteller's way of indicating how disconnected he is.
He said, Halo funeral home for when you're knocking on heavens.
Right. Yeah. And his dad's like, stick to the script. Come on, let's just go. And like everything is a sale with these funeral home people. He's got a process. And there's even a new customer comes up. So he's going to give him enough money to get mom and him something. And then he points out the fact that it's only $15, which is not enough for him to get something. And so he tells him to get a water.
Which is despicable.
Yeah, it would be.
They do a really good job of making the parents actually polar opposites.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's to the point where you would wonder what someone who is raised like Zach would start to become because of the degree of the maltreatment. And they're ultimately, though, are going back to the same Greek food vendor to get some different items, and they collide. Zach and Rose collide. All the food goes on the ground, but then it's in Rose's nature as a demon to just take Zach's money and say she's gonna use that, and there's no conversation about it. So I like how Peter highlighted that, like how like it was in her nature to jump at like, okay, I'll just take it. You're whatever. Like there's no okay, we'll work it out together. Let's talk to the cook because he's obviously willing. He's like, I'll give you new euros. Like, don't fight in front of my store. You look like crazy people. I'll just give you some more euros. It's okay.
She switches pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that from good to bad. I haven't really seen him switch super to good. His seems to take a bit.
Yeah, that's true. It's almost like if he's around innocence or whatever, or feels like you have to fix a wrong, then it just happens. Whereas, I mean, she goes so far as to tear the money up so that, nobody can. It's a very malicious thing, but they're kind of razzing each other about like, you have the heart of a demon, take that back. Or, is it pitchfork time? And that's all obviously very apt. And then somebody runs through the middle of them and they're carrying the donation box from Rose's family's tent. And then it becomes obvious to them and us as readers that that's the Beazle guy. And then they see it, and he clearly did it on purpose because he wants their attention.
And obviously they go out to get the donation box.
Well, it's kind of neat. There's a moment where it speaks to the relationship that's developing between the two of them because Mr. Hornsby, Zach tells him to go the wrong way to follow that guy because Zach and Rose agree they're going to handle Beazle. They're not sending Rose's dad to do it. That would put him in danger. And they chase him to a fun house, like to a, what do you call it? Like mirrored.
House of Mirrors.
House of Mirrors, yeah. Yep. they don't seem super scared like for their well-being because they know they don't want to kill them. So the dynamics are different. It's more like an irritation. And so he punches out one of the mirrors that Beazle is in, and you see him transform briefly. And then they do point out in conversation, she's like, oh, your whole body didn't change. Only your fist turned blue. And there's not a scratch on it. So it's like a power exploration conversation.
Yeah. And then she tries it too.
Yep. And it works.
It's very obvious after they smash the two mirrors, like they actually wanted them to do that. Because the angel says, that's the spirit.
Because they want to get them all riled up so they'll accept their true nature. And we do get a couple of panels of our monster hunters that we're starting to really like. The brick guy, he's just taking selfies and stuff with people, whereas Mallory's trying to use her psychic powers to find the right place. And she does indeed find like a creepy cave type of deal. And it looks like she can sense evil there.
Yeah, I'm actually really interested to see what's going to happen there.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I'm curious as well. I have a feeling that's the cave. Remember when somebody came to Earth and they exploded out of the cave? I'm sure that's that. But ultimately, they're even like, what do you want from us? Why won't you leave us alone? And they know what they want. What they want is for them to take on their power. Domino says, we want you both to govern with an iron hand instead of being compromised by the distasteful pact that goes against the nature of things. It's basically like saying in a very verbose way, this is just not the way it's supposed to be, and we want it to be the way it's supposed to be.
They're honestly having a little tantrum. We've been doing this for millennia.
Yeah, but they keep pushing the issue, and then eventually they're like, well, what is in it for you? What do you get? What do you want? And they make it out to, like, they get them in a separate tent where everything stops for a second, and they're surrounded by the fireworks, and he's like, what do you get from us? Like, what do you guys get out of this? And they're trying to tell him, you're not paying attention. You're letting this plane of human existence overwhelm your senses. All of this is fleeting. You need to stop doing this. And if you don't, this is where they take an interesting turn. Domino explains over and over, like, this isn't in your nature. It's the same kind of stuff. But then she's hovering above fireworks, and it's like, you have to stop this, or I really can't be held responsible for what ends up happening to the nice mortal people that are around you. And it's basically threatening them that if they don't embrace their true nature, they'll start killing innocent humans.
And then somehow, they're like, all right. I like when it says, so the angel says, so what will it be? Demon says, cheers and fear or power and glory. And they're like, what do you think? It's interesting how polar opposite they are. But when faced with these big things, they're like, no, we're locked in. We're on the same page. Not going to do what you guys want us to. And so, of course, they set off the fireworks. And
meaning the bad guys do, right?
Yeah. Everyone's outside, and they make these like spheres of energy around the fireworks, like as a team, which looks really cool.
Yes. So they transform fully. They both encapsulate the lit fireworks in this like mutually glowing ball, and they fly up into the air. We see several instances like where Mallory's telling her photographer to make sure to get that. And then I really love the page where you see them going up, and then half the page is Rose, half the page is Zach, and it's their face. And then you see it going up again, and then it's this massive bakum, probably amazing letters, fireworks everywhere, and the two of them, coming apart in that. What this makes me think is that you got to consider that part of the reason they were chosen is to keep a balance, like, of peace. So it seems like they make a pretty good team, and so maybe that is what they are unknowingly doing. So in a way, it makes sense that Domino and Beazle, being people that don't want that balance to exist or work presumably for even higher, more powerful beings that don't want that to happen, that this is what they would do. And because it's in their nature, like, they're going to stop the bad stuff. They're going to work together, and they're going to maintain a peace. What's neat, though, is both the Monster Hunter crews, we do get this great 2 panels where it's very clear, they got that on camera. So that's going to change the storytelling dynamics going forward as well, because the public is going to be aware of what they are doing and who they are. So I think that'll help open up some new storytelling mechanisms about where they're going to go next.
Yeah, I think it's really cool.
And then there's a fun bio with the Brick Botan guy. And the only thing that I really thought was, there's a lot of fun in there. I could see this character being very, very well played on screen by the right actor. But in his abilities, he says he has an above average athletic build and can lift more than the average person. His bum knee sometimes limits what he's able to do. He prides himself on knowing more about Jean-Claude Van Damme than the actor's most savvy stalkers. So,
oh my gosh,
love it. Yeah. So that was Hornsby and Halo number 9. Really curious to see what happens now that the whole world knows about, or whoever saw the news with these crazy monster hunters. That some people will probably discount it, say it's fake, because of where the source is coming from. We do have a listener mail question. This is particularly appropriate. It does get asked somewhat often by new readers to Ghost Machine, and it was recently asked to me on a post on Instagram. So this is a similar question that was emailed to us recently from Jeremy. Do you want to read Jeremy's fantastic mail?
Oh my gosh, you did it. Yes, of course I want to read the fantastic mail. Okay, so Jeremy said, hello, Ghost Machine fans. If I was to start reading Ghost Machine comics, where's the best place and what order should I begin? I am asking because I like Redcoat in the past the best, but everyone says I have to start with Geiger, which is in the future.
Well, this is a very appropriate question for you, actually, because if you recall, I mean, we're on episode 74, and there have been a lot of interviews, but there's been a lot more deep dives. And those deep dives were done in chronological order. They still are done in chronological order. And that means that if you go look at our episode schedule, it will literally, if you follow that rollout, you'll read Ghost Machine in order in publication date order. I know what you mean, though, right? Because if you're getting into this and you go out and buy trades, which is a really good way to get into it because it's going to be the first 6, you'll see Geiger Volume 1 and 2 and 3. Like, there's 3 out now. You'll see Redcoat has 1 and Junkyard Joe has 1. And so when you read the premise of Redcoat, you're like, oh man, I want to read that right now. If you read Redcoat first, it will not harm anything. Like, it won't be really difficult. There will be like a few tiny little snippets that are related to Junkyard Joe and Geiger that you'll be like, huh. If you read Geiger in the beginning and you get through that and then you do Junkyard Joe and then you read Redcoat, it will pull Redcoat together even more for you. So I would do it in that order, but you're right. Like, Redcoat 1 through 6, 1 through 7 is several different stories that help with character development, but mostly his time with Albert Einstein. And so it really won't, I don't know. I think you're fine in terms of that.
Yeah, you're fine. But if you're going to read 1 first, chronologically, Geiger makes sense. But I could argue that you could also read Junkyard Joe first.
Yeah, Junkyard Joe is self-contained, but you will not appreciate the last page or 2 of Junkyard Joe in a very, literally the last 2 pages of the Junkyard Joe series are the reason that I wanted to do this, because of how enthused it made me.
Yeah.
And if I had read Junkyard Joe first, I would have not had any idea why there was a portal and why there was a dude with a dog, like why that would matter. And so My recommendation is read it in order of the episodes that we did and go back and listen to them while you do it.
The good old days.
Yeah. And that's all in the world of the unnamed, right? Like Rook Exodus has one trade out. That's easy to just go snag. Hyde Street has Hyde Street and Devour and his started Sisterhood. Then the Family Odysseys are the two books that we're just talking about. And both of those have their first trade out. So it's still a very early time. Like it's not, I would just go get all the first trades and go town, man.
Amazing.
Thanks for reaching out to us, Jeremy, with your amazing, fantastic mail. If you are out there and you would like to do something similar to what Jeremy did, you can do so by emailing us at ghostmachinefans@gmail.com. We welcome your questions, your comments, your heckles, your feedback, anything and everything.
Yeah, I'd like a heckle.
Next week, when you come back to join us, we'll be talking about Redcoat 14, which includes that sweet new First Ghost Prelude. So there's going to be a lot to talk about in this one, so make sure not to miss it.
Excitement.
And if you want to check out all of our other content, you can do that by visiting www.ghostmachinefans.com, where you'll find all of the social media platforms that we're on, along with our wiki and some other fun stuff and friends of the show. Would love for you to come join the conversation in the new Discord. You can find the link for that in our Instagram and also on the Ghost Machine Comics Reddit. It's one of the announcements on there.
And thanks for joining us again tonight on the Ghost Machine Fans Podcast.
Family podcasting is best.